Hey guys, welcome to the Top Percentile. My name is Anay Dave. I scored 19.99 percentile in CET 2020. I recently uploaded a video where I'd kind of spoken about how you should be taking passive mocks, how you should be attempting each and every section in CET. So if you've not seen that, please, it'll be in one of the recent videos, and I'll try to put it up in the link here so you can just watch it. But in that, I had a 2021 Anay who had just taken CET, just cracked the 99.99 percentile that I just mentioned, was a part of JBIMS and was enjoying teaching people and was very much in the know about the sections and how to attempt the paper. Now, there's another video that I mentioned in that about how to mark guesses, how to take flukes and estimate your score, how to actually increase the probability of your flukes and to use options to solve. The video following this quick message will be from there. So again, back to 2021 Anay, who clearly knows so much more about CET than I do. He knows about the sections, etc. I know more about now what it's like overall how to coach students, and we've done that over the past 3 years with around 40 students in who went to JBIMS in the last 3 years, right? So that's all I have to say, to be honest. I'm just going to let the earlier Anay take over, let him speak about everything that has to be. It might be a longer video, but this was highly requested in the chat. So if you like things like this, let me know. If there are any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll be answering them personally. We had a lot of requests for grammar questions and what you should be doing on a daily basis. So the link will be I'll just put it in the description, or it'll be a pinned comment downstairs. So just please check it and you'll find everything you need. If you don't see any video after this, all the best for your CET. It's less than a week to go. It's not the end of the world. I really loved what one of our recent students and recent toppers and a current student in JBIMS said, Jaideep Ashramkar. He was on a live with the top percentile and he mentioned that you control the input, output, and outcome depends on how things happen. You can still control output to an extent. Outcome is very different. And I want you to think of life as a series of outcomes, and the best always works out for the people who put in most effort and who over time will be rewarded for that effort, right? So even if it's not JBIMS, if it's not CET this year, maybe it will be next year. Maybe something else opens up. We have a lot of things to discuss on this. We'll have a chat after your CET ends. So stick around, stay subscribed to our channel. We'll be more than happy to guide. We are not just here for CET. We are here for everything that happens in an MBA after that as well. So stay tuned to your channel. Back to 2021 on it. My name's Anay Dave. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hey guys, welcome to Top Percentile. My name is Anay Dave and I scored a rank of 9 in CET 2020. Today, there are 7 days left for the final exam that you will be taking in CET 21, which the dates are finally out and we are gunning for you guys to score as high as you can. But today, we've had a lot of requests on how to increase your marks in the last 7 days and also how to mark guesses in the paper. So today, these are the two things that we'll be looking at. And as someone who loves finance, the best thing I can do is make a model out of it. So I'll just share my Excel screen so that we can look at that and judge how things are going, right? So this is the basic thing that I've made over here. The two questions that we'll be trying to answer are how to increase your score in the next 7 days and how to make educated guesses in the paper. Now, to explain why this is really important, why educated guess is extremely important in the paper, is this model. This is what I want to show mainly, right? So usually when you look at the topper, when you ask anyone out of the 6 of us, we've usually attempted 160 questions genuinely. That is how our mocks go. That is how our scores are usually. That's the range that you are expecting. Sometimes it goes to 117 mocks, but on average, we'll be at the 160 or the 150 level. But 160 is what I'm taking over here. Now, my accuracy in the exam used to be 80%. So if I take an accuracy of 80% and put it on a 160, the score I'll be getting is a 128. Now, a score of 128 is not going to be enough to get me into JBIMS unless everyone else has not marked everything. This is assuming I've not marked any of the flukes, right? I'm only saying I've got a score of 128, and that is not going to be enough to get me into any college, into JBIMS, which is the main college that I'm trying for. So when it comes to that, this is not my aim. My aim cannot be scoring a 128. What can I do over here? Can I increase the number of genuine attempts that I have? Usually, yes. In 7 days, probably not. The reason I'm saying probably not is because when you look at genuine attempts, it is basically a function of your understanding and your knowledge of the topics that are there. So if there are many topics that you've not done, the number of genuine attempts are going to be lesser. If you're someone who's attempting around 100 questions and cannot do more, the reason behind that is because you don't have the knowledge to do more. And in the next 7 days, it's going to be very difficult to cover the next 100 questions that are there. But if you're someone who's already attempting 120, 130, 140, 150, 160 questions accurately, then there are other things that you need to focus on, and that's what we'll be looking at now. If you're attempting 160 questions and you have an accuracy of 80%, you're getting 128 marks. If I reduce this to 70%, you get 112 marks. You get only 112 marks, and that's a 16 mark reduction that is there right there because of a direct drop in your accuracy. So when even the live yesterday that we had, a lot of you had asked me questions about this, about how should you increase your marks in the next 7 days. The first thing that you need to do is wonder whether you can increase your genuine attempts. What can you do? There are certain places where you can easily increase your genuine attempts. For example, if you've not done DI or if you're leaving quant on purpose, there are many easy subjects that you can just pick up, many easy chapters that you can just pick up and finish off in probably a couple of hours, especially in arithmetic quant, or even if you're scared of DI and you've not been taking DI because of that, then there are lots of things that you can do in that. Or the other thing that you can do is traditional logic. In traditional logic, there are so many questions that so many subjects that you can just solve within a few hours and actually gain mastery in that. So this would be something like direction sense or something like syllogisms. I think it's pretty easy to at least get some amount of mastery in that so that you can solve questions that are there. Then your genuine attempts will go up, right? So the first thing that I would suggest you to do to increase your marks is to increase your genuine attempts. But considering it is 7 days away, this is not going to be the best strategy for all of you. The best strategy for most of you will be increasing your accuracy, right? If I have an accuracy of 70% and if I have an accuracy of 60%, all with 160 attempts, look at the difference in marks. Not scoring above 100 because I have such a low accuracy in the questions that I'm actually attempting properly. And if I have an accuracy of 60%, am I really solving the question properly? Am I really doing it correctly overall? Because there are so many questions that you can just solve properly. Your accuracy should be upwards of 70%. Your first aim has to be taking it to that point. And the point I'm trying to make over here is that if you are attempting a question, it should be right. You should keep that one thing in mind, that try to reduce the mistakes that you're making. The silly mistakes that you make or the questions that you read wrong. So this could be something like you've calculated something wrong. So you need to work on your calculations, or you've read a question wrong and you've answered something altogether different, or or you've marked an option wrong for some reason after solving it correctly. Everything that is there, these are genuine attempts that you should be getting right, that you're getting wrong. So that's why this figure could be lower for you, because if you have the knowledge, if you have knowledge worth 160, 140, how much ever you are at right now, just know that your accuracy is going to make a much bigger difference to your score now, right? So first thing I'd say, try increasing genuine attempts. If not, increase your accuracy. When you increase your accuracy, there'll be a big improvement on your genuine attempts that are there. But as I mentioned, my accuracy was around 80%, 70 to 80%. It's there in all my mock scores that you can see. So it's there on our Telegram group. Anyone can download that. You'll find the link in the description box. And my genuine attempts were around 160. Sometimes we used to go to 170, sometimes 150, as I mentioned earlier. Now that gives me a score of only 128. Even if I'm doing this much, even if I'm reaching 180, 160 questions and 80% accuracy and getting a score of 128, this is far away from the 149 that I scored in the final exam, and it's far away from the 150 that guaranteed would get you an admission in JB. This is still, I'm just saying 150 because of the history of the past. It's always been 150 means JB seat. I'm not saying you have to aim for only 150. If you're getting a 180, if you're getting a 160, get it. Nothing like that. Show us how high you can go. We'd love to see higher scores and higher people. It just will be amazing if you can break that. But the point is, the 149 that I scored, the 150 that people have scored, the TTP has scored to get into JBIMS, that's not what got us there. Now, if you look at this part of it, there are 200 questions in the paper. I'm attempting 160 of them genuinely. There are 40 questions that I'm leaving. There are 40 marks that I'm leaving behind, which I do not know the answers to. Now, the reasons, why do I not know the answers to this? It's probably because I've not done the chapter. It's probably because I don't know how to solve it, which is again kind of like not doing the chapter. But many times you know how to do the chapter, but not that particular question. So I don't know how to do it, or there's not enough time to do it. Now in CET, the third option is very common because the questions you won't find too many new question types that are there. You'll just find similar question types coming, and it is on you to solve it, whether you decide it or not to solve it on that day. So it's your decision on the day of the exam whether you solve it or not. So that day, the function of flukes and genuine will be how much you think is possible to solve in the 2.5 hours that you have. In the 150 minutes, it's your decision how much you are solving. It's like questions are thrown to you and you need to pick out the easy ones and solve them, right? You need to pick out what you want to do and what you want to leave behind. So that's why these 40 questions that are there, I used to personally leave them mainly because I did not want to spend time on them, or I thought they were too difficult to be solved within the time that CET is permitting me, right? So that's why I used to decide that if I'm not able to do it, it's better to just leave it. Now, when I used to leave it, I would not just leave it. In every interview so far, I've always mentioned that do not mark flukes, do not mark answers, just keep going with what you're doing, right? I've always said that just see what your actual score is, because I wanted you to see how far you can stretch this. So during the last week, I have not attempted flukes, I've not attempted educated guess in my paper. You won't see 200 attempts in my mock sheet unless it's the last 1-2 weeks that are there. That otherwise I've really not been attempting otherwise. But now, since it's the last week and since admit cards have already come out for other MBA, other CET exams, MBA CET is still not out at the time of this recording, which is 7 p.m. on the 8th of September. So it's still not out, but it might be out by the time you're watching this. So I do not have the news on that. But the point is, if you are able to increase or score more in this, you get a much higher score. And that's what I'm trying to show with this model made here. So assuming 160 mock, 160 genuine attempts, what is left? 40 questions. Now, there are 5 options that come in CET. 5 options means 20% probability if I mark randomly. If I'm able to eliminate one option, I have 1 in 4, so that's 25% probability. If I eliminate one more option, that's 1 in 3, 33% probability. And if I eliminate 3 options, I have 2 options left, I get a 50% probability. Now, what I want you to notice over here is that when I attempt 40, when I fluke 40 with a 20% accuracy, I get 8 marks. This is just random probability. I'm not saying you will 100% get 8 marks, but probability states that you have a chance of, the expected value is 8. So you would get 8 marks expected in this. And your total from that would come to 136. If I'm able to attempt one option in each question and get the probability to 25%, I'm getting 10 marks. 2 marks extra earlier, it's not a big gap. But as I go ahead, as I go further into 3 options and 2 options, my score directly goes from a 128 into the 140s. It goes to a 141 and a 148. And I think most of you, if you are able to make educated guesses and do it properly, it requires a lot of practice and a lot of thinking on the last day, you would be somewhere in this category. It would be either be a 138 or a 141. A 148 is obviously very difficult because you cannot reduce every question to 2 options and get 20 marks in 40 questions. That would be unreal. Although if I have to go with how much I scored a 149. So I think there was a lot of normalization that must have happened, but I do know my genuine attempts were around 170 as well. So if I go to a 170 with the same data, it goes higher than what I'd scored, right? So what I'm trying to show over here is that when you are able to go to this point, when you're able to go to the 50% or the 33% or the 25% as well, if you're able to eliminate a couple of options and solve, you are able to get a much better score out of the same attempts that you've taken. You are attending 160 questions. You are not doing anything different. You are attending 160 questions. You are keeping the same accuracy that is there. But by taking educated guesses, you are increasing your score just because you have studied, just because you are smarter in solving the other 40 questions that you're leaving. Now I can do the same. If someone is at 170, I can basically just put 170 here and you can just run this. It's a pretty easy Excel model to make. Anyone can just try this and just run it whenever they want to. It's not very difficult, but look at how the numbers change. You get lesser marks from flukes now because you attempted more questions. So you got only 15 marks, earlier you had 20 marks. But the fun thing over here is if I make it a 140, there are 60 questions that I'm leaving behind. Now, 60 questions that I'm leaving behind. Look at, I'm getting 112 genuinely because genuine score is 112 because I have an 80% accuracy. Not bad, but look at this. I'm getting a 30% increase only by marking flukes or making educated guesses by eliminating options or by being smart about how I select it. So this word fluke that I've written over here, fluke is a random occurrence. But when you do this, if you're able to bring it to a 1 by 1 in 3 or a 1 in 2 chance, you are not attempting flukes. These are genuine guesses that you're making. These are educated guesses based on facts that you're making. You are using logic to get this score. So then look at you. From 112, 140 attempts with 80% accuracy. From 112, you are going right there to a 132 and a 142. That's where you need to be. You're getting 30 marks extra only based on educated guesses that you would not be taking otherwise. Like this is just based on that. Had you not been trying to eliminate options, you would be scoring 12 marks. You've increased that to 8. You've increased that by 18 to 30. That's the power of this that you're trying to do. I'll explain how to make educated guesses in this video as well, in this video later ahead. But the point is, that's how you have to try to do this. That's the idea behind this. So just to answer the first question again, how do you increase your score in the next few days? Increase your genuine attempts. Very difficult to do because you probably have not left too many chapters at this point. If you're someone who's attempting 100, 120 questions, there will be something that you can improve. But if you're scoring or if you're attempting around 160, you cannot do much over there. Increase your accuracy. Increase your accuracy instead. You need to get that 80% accuracy. Aim for a 75 to 80% accuracy, because traditional logic, the basic things, basic arithmetic and all of this, you should not get wrong. You should not get these things wrong. Even fill in the blanks, basic grammar that is there, these should not be going wrong. You should be aiming for 100% accuracy in all of these topics that are there. Puzzles, critical reasoning, they will all take your accuracy down. In fact, puzzles, you should be pretty accurate in puzzles. If you're spending time on it, you should get 5 on 5. So ideally, your puzzle accuracy should be high. It just takes a lot more time. NPM will be low in puzzles, but your accuracy will be high in puzzles. Whereas in traditional logic, your NPM will be high and your accuracy will be high. So think about it that way, where you're going with accuracy and NPM. Shreekanth had made a full slide on this if you watch our first, our second webinar on mock analysis. But if you're a CET 22 aspirant, watch it right now. If you're a CET 21 aspirant, it's okay. Focus on what I'm telling you in this video itself. So how do you increase your marks? Genuine attempts increase your accuracy. If you've done all of this, go for the fluke, go for the genuine attempts part, go for the genuine guesses part, where you're going into this category, the last 3 categories that are there, and increasing everything that you do. So in case someone's at 150, again, look at how the numbers will change. You get a 25% increase if you're able to reduce it to 2. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying it is achievable. I'm telling you, you'll be in one of these 2 brackets most of the times, but that is something still much better. 137 is better than 130. 133 is also better than 130. At every stage, you are doing much better. At every stage, even a couple of marks more could probably be 1,000 places ahead, 100 places ahead, or even 2-3 places ahead. That makes a difference in whether you get into JB or SIDNIM or whichever college that you get into later. So that's the difference, and that's the advantage of doing this, right?